Good morning, day 77. Esther, the book of Esther, part 2. I'm calling it Getting the Job Done. And look at this, y'all. Whew, man. We've got storms coming today. And so all of the skyscape and the clouds interacting with the light, wow, it's creating a lot of drama. In day 77, I'm not one that's been into numbers or knows a lot about them, but I did look like I'm starting to learn, and I know they're significant in the Bible. But 7 is the day of completeness and perfection, is that right? Anyway, so day 77, I think it's going to be good. So on to Esther part 2. And so we ended yesterday with Haman kind of getting justice by his own hands, ironically. The very thing that he designed, the 75-foot sharpened pole that he had plans to execute Mordecai on, was the very thing that the king used to execute him on. But the job's not done yet. That's only part 1. There's still the king's decree that Haman had the king authorize, stating that on this certain date, the Jews are going to be annihilated. And so it's interesting how that happened. There was so much to cover yesterday. So the way that happened was Haman cast lots, or Purim, I think is how it's pronounced. They cast lots, and and by the lots that were cast, this was the day that was designated for his diabolical plan to not only get back at Mordecai, but to get back at all of the people, all of the Jews that were in the land. And so now we have step 1 done. We've got Haman out of the way. And Esther says, oh, King, please, can you please reverse your order? And he says, I can't. Any order that I put in place cannot be revoked. But here's what I can do. We can make a new decree. And so they did that. And they put in a new decree, and that stated that the Jews had the right to not only defend themselves, but to also annihilate right back anybody trying to kill them on this date that Haman had set in place. Which, interestingly enough, that's festival still gets celebrated today, the festival of Purim, and it is March 16th, 17th, and 18th. Y'all, it is March 18th in the year 2022 right now. So, and I didn't even know that, reading it yesterday. I didn't start the book on the 16th, but man, that's kind of a coinky dink, or we call them a God wink. And I'm going to turn the camera around. If you all are just listening, I wish you could see this. Go find the video somewhere. It's beautiful. Anyway, so back to the story. Okay, so they put a new decree in place. The king had taken his signet ring back from Haman's dead body, and now he gives it to Haman. You're my right-hand man now. I'm giving you this ring just so for proof, because now you're going to be, now that the decree has been written, it has to be communicated. There's no Facebook then or internet or any of that. It is, you got to get on your horses and go. And it even states they took the best horses, the king's horses, because they were the ones that were trained for the king's business. So they got the best horses and the best people to send the message out. And it even says that Mordecai is wearing those robes that we talked about that Haman had imagined himself being honored in. That Mordecai is getting on the horse, dressed in the king's blue and white robes, and then even covered in the royal purple linen on top of that, like fancy. And the gold crown, it even says the gold crown on his head. So he probably just looks like the king. He's got it, wearing the gold crown. He's got the signet ring. He's got all the garb and the king's horses. Anyway, they go out to the 127 provinces, toot sweet, means quickly, and then they let all the people know, hey, your time of mourning is over. We have a plan now to defend ourselves, rightfully so. And so much so, there's a really interesting sentence, something I had never seen. I even did do a little research this morning, and I don't think it happened anywhere else in the Bible, or at least it's not like put in writing, that there were so many people that were like, ooh, I better pick the winning team here. And many people converted to being Jews during this time. So maybe the Jewish family was enlarged through Mordecai and his work and Esther. And so they've spread the news everywhere. Then the day comes. And in the translation I was reading this morning, it actually said March 7th. But they celebrate it today on March, 16th. So whatever. It's that time of year. March is here. And that is when the battle ensues. And the people that were on the side of Haman, who were going to follow the decree that Haman had put in place, were like pretty confident. They were like, oh, we got this. But no, they were strongly outmanned, and 75,000 people were killed. And another 300, they specifically single out the territory of Susa as well, separately. So more than 75,000 people killed. And then after that, so the Jewish people were saved. Now they're so happy that they decide to celebrate and make a festival out of it. Actually, Esther does this. She creates and installs the festival of Purim that is still celebrated today. And this is a time when I was reading the description of it, is when Jews can be fully Jewish. Like they can just really let their hair down, be free to be who they authentically are in all of their Jewishness, which kind of goes back to the beginning of Esther, when we learn, that part of the role of Mordecai, or their strategy of Mordecai and Esther, was to keep their nationality on the down low. And so the fact that this festival then was about Jewish pride, really, that maybe before that time, maybe some people knew that people were Jewish, but it wasn't like fully, like maybe it was a don't ask, don't tell policy. In Persia, that's what this whole territory is called at the time, was Persia. 127 provinces is what is numbered in the Bible, in this book. So big land. It even says Mordecai rode his horse from coast to coast. So 3-day celebration. So we have the big battle on day 1, it's not quite done. They've still got some fighting left to do. Day 2, they get the job completely done. Their victory for the Jews of the land, and then a day of celebration. And the way that they celebrate this today is to give each other gifts, and especially gifts to the poor or less fortunate. Gifts of food, cards, notes, encouragement. I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. And so yesterday I said, that I think Mordecai is the unsung hero of the book. And really, in the book itself, he's clearly looked at as a hero. Like, he's given the position ultimately of prime minister. He's wearing the kingly robes. But really, in our modern times, or at least my experience of studying and hearing about this book, it's all about Esther, especially us women. Like, this is all that we hear about. Esther, 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 Esther. And I don't want to downplay Esther. Like, we all need Esthers, and we all need to follow her lead, and the role modeling of being able to recognize and stand up and speak up and do the thing, even in the face of risk or danger, for such a time as this. But I think even before that, Mordecai is the one who did this. He role modeled this well. He not only took Esther in as a young child and raised her as his own, but he even saw sort of the bigger strategy of how all of this would play out. And he was the ultimate encourager for such a time as this to Esther, and for his people. I see a way out here, and we need to put a plan and a strategy together and get this done. That God was really using him in seemingly normal, random, maybe events. But I think God had a very special plan for Mordecai, and Mordecai heard the call, and he listened, and he stepped up when there might be danger to him. And we see that in example after example after example. And so I think we should all be really encouraged by not just Esther, but of Mordecai, that you might be in such a position to be the one to support the one who's in power and really has the king's ear, metaphorically. And you never know. So you need to always be doing your best, keeping your eye on the big picture of what's happening, doing your best to steward whatever position in life that you have, because you could be like Mordecai, who, normal old dude, just being a good person, doing the right thing, to being raised up to a high position. Or maybe you'll never be raised up to a quote-unquote high position. Maybe your high position is to be the servant, to be the one that's maybe making cookies for your grandchild, and that grandchild just learns what such a picture of a godly person is, that they, hold that in their heart and in their mind their whole life, and you are the reason that they become the big thing, and the servant. So you just never know. So it's not about doing something big and saving a nation. We do that in our everyday life with the small things, stewarding, and not getting caught up in all of that. You doing the right thing, right where God has you, keeping your eyes and your heart open, and doing and stepping in that direction. And then you might be part of the whole story. And if you hadn't played the role that you played, whether it's big or small or medium, somewhere in between, for such a time as that, then you wouldn't have been a part of that, the whole bigger picture and the victory that God had planned. And God's going to have victory no matter what. So if you don't do your part, it's all right. He will go and tap on somebody else's shoulder. We learned that through the book of Esther too. That he will get it done. Like, God doesn't need us, but you might have an opportunity to help get something done, to finish a job. And they didn't just stop and rest once Haman was dead. They were like, no, we still got a lot of work to do. This is just phase 1. And we've still got to keep pressing hard, keep working hard, and fighting. And it's not over till it's over. And even in that, they converted people to Judaism back in this time. Like, what? What? They grew God's kingdom. If that isn't a foreshadowing of the New Testament, well, anyway, so it is Friday here. Friday. Look at the beautiful. I got to take some pictures. So beautiful. Have a great day wherever you are. And is there something that's left that you've maybe already in your mind going, oh, I worked hard on that, but you know it's not done yet, and that you need to get back in there and get that job done? Get some courage, my friend. Take a deep breath and get back to work. If you've got something that you've already done a lot of work on, but you know it's not done yet. All right. Bye.